Hi, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of From Her View podcast with me, Sade Camille. Very excited to continue the series that is called Check Yourself Before You Wreck Yourself, which is all about personal assessments. And I'm excited to dive into this next assessment, which is going to be our Myers-Briggs. So if you listen to the intro to this series, I did tell you that this one was very, 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 very popular for a while, and people were super obsessed with like, what is your letters or what are my letters and da 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 da. And so people were taking the assessments and doing absolutely nothing with it besides taking it. But honestly, these assessments that we'll be going over during the podcast are all very important because they give a different type of insight into yourself. So that's what checking yourself before you're wrecking yourself, baby, is you gotta check to see who you is so you don't wreck yourself trying to be who they are. If you know who you are, you will be fully occupied with being you and not trying to be someone else, because that is the main objective, the main goal. So, with that being said, we are going to dive deep where I'm sharing my results with you guys, because why would I not share my results? Like, y'all need some real practicality in this. I practice what I preach, baby. I took my assessments. So, uh, for this assessment, it's the Myers-Briggs, just like I said. And so this is an interpretive report designed to understand the assessment that identifies which of the 16 different personality types best describes myself. So definitely giving a language to who you are. That's what languages do. That's what words do. They describe things. And so my report came back as an INTJ. So INTJ is very rare. And it's so funny because I when I took it, I just knew. I knew I was just going it was going to tell me something super like, yeah, I know. I know I'm extremely rare. Not in a sense of like I'm rare, but like I knew that I have a very particular mindset, thought process that I haven't encountered in another person before. So that's why I wasn't gonna be like, oh, like completely caught off guard when I took it. But it is a very rare. And one of the things that they actually call this personality type is the architect. So I want to go ahead and pull up the deets on the architect. The architect is a personality type that is introverted, intuitive, thinking, and judging. And that is what the INTJ stands for. So the introverted, intuitive, like intuitive, so they use an N, thinking and judging traits. So these thoughtful tacticians love perfecting the details of life, applying creativity and rationality to everything they do, and their inner world is often a private, complex one, which it speaks to me. Um, these individuals, the architects, are intellectually curious individuals with deep-seated thirst for knowledge. They tend to value creative ingenuity, straightforward rationality, and self-improvement. Hence, the podcast. Duh. So, they often consistently work towards enhancing intellectual abilities and are often driven by an intense desire to master any and every topic that piques their interest. And this couldn't be a truer thing for myself. One of the things that I like about the Myers-Briggs is they tell you your personality type. So you take the assessment, you know what your personality type is. My personality type is an INTJ. They're, they have supportive information as far as what your strengths and weaknesses are, how are you in romantic relationships, how are you are in friendships, parenthood, career paths, workplace habits, and then it gives an overarching conclusion. For my results, just typing into that. So the letters themselves have different categories. So I am an I, so opposite ways to direct and receive energy. So I am introvert when I receive my energy. And then the opposite ways to take in information, or the ways to take in information, I am more intuitive with the information that I take in. And then how to decide and to come to a conclusion, I'm actually more thinking when I come to my conclusion. And then my approach to the outside world, I'm very judging of the outside world. And so this is how I perceive my information. So, introversion, people prefer and tend to direct their energy towards their inner worlds, and they get energized by reflecting on their ideas and their experiences. The opposite to that would be extroversion. And so, extroversion people, they prefer direct and their energy toward the outside world and get energized by interacting with people and taking action. So, one of the ways that I like to describe myself, especially when it comes to relationships or friendships, literally in every way, I describe myself as a succulent. Like, I need the bare minimum of outside things to survive. I'm pretty self sufficient. I'm very self sufficient in that regard. So, introversion is not a surprise to me because I'm very comfortable with myself. So looking within, well, the Holy Spirit is there also, but looking within, I do get a lot of energy from that. So we have my intuition, and I tend to take in information by seeing the big picture and focusing mainly on patterns and interpersonal or interrelationship patterns and interrelationships they perceive. So that's what the intuition is. The opposite of that would be sensing. And sensing people prefer to take in information that is real and tangible. They focus mainly on what they perceive using their five senses. Or I look at the bigger picture and the patterns, and that is me because I'm very analytical. I look for the patterns, I look for the changes in patterns, and that speaks more information than sometimes what you see, because what you see is not always what you get a lot of the times. Um, I need a little bit of data. So I that is a part of me. And then how they come to conclusions. So I'm thinking. So I typically base my decisions and conclusions on logic. So I'm very logical with accuracy and objective truth to the primary goals. So I'm just like, blah. I mean, it's usually right. And people will try to gaslight me, finesse me, and be like, no, no, or, you know, but I know. I am really good at putting two and two together unless I'm completely blinded by something delulu that I made up in my head. I'm pretty good at calling a spade a spade. And my approach to the outside world, it is, oh, I didn't tell you the opposite of thinking. So thinking would be feeling. And these people prefer taking their decisions and conclusions on personal and social values with understanding and harmony for the primary goal. Now, how we look at the outside world, I would be judging, and I prefer judging, typically comes to the conclusion quickly and want to move on and take on an organized, planned approach to the world, which is very true. Once I've, energized myself, I took in the information through intuition. I thought about it, crunched the numbers. I've came to my conclusion and I'm done with it. I'm done with it. And it'll be times where like people don't want to accept me being done with it. That's fine. I'm just gonna get out of the situation when I wanna get out of the situation and continue to tell you that I'm done with it. And then, like, you not being done with it is like, "Come on, child, I told you. I said I was done." But anyways, so the approach to the outside world, the opposite would be perceiving. So they typically look for more information, coming to the conclusion and take typically look for more information before coming to a conclusion, and they take a spontaneous, flexible approach to the world. So, um, so for me, they go over some like more descriptions about my type. So I have an original mind and a great drive for implementing ideas and achieving my goals. I'm an excellent long range planner. I'm strategic, logical, and insightful. I'm committed and organize a job and carry it through. I'm skeptical and independent and hold selves and others to high standards of knowledge and competence. And that's something that I do. But I also am aware that not all people are going to meet that, because you'll find out in another assessment that sometimes with this, you could kind of have an unrealistic, so that when I say delulu, like an unrealistic, like it's not a smart goal, it is a asinine goal. But then we have some other things. So once they have created their general structure, they devise strategies to achieve their goals. So INTJs value knowledge highly and expect competence from themselves and others. They hate confusion, mess, and inefficiency. And I do. Um, if there is, first of all, God has not given us the spirit of confusion. He has no part in it. So that would definitely be spending my spidey senses off. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you FaceTimed me. You said that that was your room, but your room doesn't look like the room that you're in right now that you're saying is your room. I'm pretty sure you FaceTimed me from your house, but this house looks new and that house looks old. So, hmm. So I definitely don't get down with stuff like that. I do present a calm and decisive and assured face to the world, though they may find difficult to engage in social conversations. They usually don't directly express their most valued and valuable parts, which is very true. I do not. And their creative insight. Instead, they translate their insight into logical decisions, opinions, and plans. Because of this, others sometimes experience INTJs as mm, interactable. Intra. Hmm, that's so crazy that it's a word that I don't know what that means. I have to look that up. Much to the surprise of INTJs who are willing to change an opinion when new evidence emerges. Others others usually see INTJs as private and reserved and hard to know, conceptual, original, and independent. Yes. And sometimes, if the circumstances are not supported, INTJs in the development and the expression of their intuition, their thinking preferences. If they have not developed their intuition, INTJs may take insufficient information on or only information that fits their insight, which is bad. Don't do that. um, they may make poor decisions based on limited information if they have not developed their thinking. They may not have reliable ways to translate their valuable insights into achievable goals, which I said that already because I know myself a little bit. So now it's going to break down what the mental process is. So it kind of gives a little bit of insight to how my gears is grinding in my head. So the two middle letters are N and T, and they devote most of their energy to intuition and support your intuition with thinking. Feeling is not as appealing to my type, therefore it is much less likely to be used. The letters of your type show how others are most likely to notice about you. What you use in the outside world versus what you reserve for your inner world and ideas and impressions. How much Here's how that works for INTJ. You use your favorite process, which is intuition, mostly in your inner thoughts or worlds and ideas where others are unlikely to see. You use your second process, which is thinking, mostly in the outer worlds of people, things, and activities. That is what people can easily see when they observe you in action. Others may underestimate you at first because they see mostly your second process rather your favorite process of your behavior. You tend to use your third and fourth process, feeling and sensing, when a situation requires their use, but quickly return to what you're most natural and comfortable for you, which is intuition and thinking. Sensing is least appealing to you. And that is very true. um, I am, and I say it, and it's one of those things where I say it boldly because at the end of the day, it's always going to be so. People are always going to underestimate me. And it used to bother me because it would make it, I would like take it as like, oh, bro, like you're coming from my intelligence. Like you're trying to tell me that I'm not smart. Like what? Like you're trying to tell me that I'm incapable of doing something, or you don't believe this or you don't believe that. Like you got me messed up. But it's telling me in this assessment that you are going to be underestimated. So, this is so funny because I literally saw this on IG, but I'm going to be underestimated. And in the words of Little Wayne, a real G move in silence, like the G in lasagna, baby. So that's what that means to me. That means that I can navigate through this world completely undetected and strike, and no one will ever see it coming. And I'm okay with that. It no longer bothers me. It has nothing to do with me, how people underestimate me, as long as I don't fall into the habit of doing the least. I'm always going to do the most. Um, so it does give me clarity on my preferences as far as my preferences index, which is like I was kind of like, ugh. So it's really kind of like, okay. But anyways, so it has like a scale, and for your scale, it's like you are very clearly this, or you're very clearly that, you're slightly this, you're moderately this. So for myself, because I know this about myself, okay? I know this about myself. I know that I have all of the letters. I know I have all of the letters, but there's always going to be something more dominant. So that's what the personality assessment means, or the assessments mean to me. It's kind of like we can be anything at any moment in time, depending on the situation. But what is my natural state? What is my normal state? Because if it's a different type of situation, then I might approach it a little bit differently, if that makes sense. So I am slightly more introverted than I am extroverted, meaning I am not a very clear introvert. I'm not. It means that I can see the value and the energy that it comes with community, and I can get that, and I can navigate in those rooms and be completely okay. I'm not so introverted that I cannot interact or speak, articulate myself, or even feel like I have a hard time having conversations with people, because I do not. So even though I am an INTJ, I am slightly introverted, so I do still possess a lot of extroverted qualities that I can tap into. But when I am hitting capacity, I do need that downtime, which makes sense because I can go chugga 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 choo choo and will burn the heck out. And I need that time of introspection. So it makes 1,000% sense to me. Now, as far as if I'm sensing or intuitive, I already know I'm prophetic, I'm a seer. That is my gift. I am aware of this gift. So I am moderately more intuitive than I am to the sensing. And that's just something that I know. I'm completely like, I know that. That's me. That's how I roll. And then we have the thinking, and I slightly think more than I feel because I I do have the ability with my gifts to want harmony, to want peace. So I do have feeling attributes. But one of the things I'm going to do first is think before I speak, think before I act. Even though I do have all the capabilities of being extremely impulsive, everybody does. Everybody does. Okay. No one's exempt from that, it- given the situation. And then, as far as this was like my highest score. Literally, numerically, it was an 11. So, like, introvert, I'm 1. So I'm like 1, like slightly over. As far as intuition, I'm a 5. As far as thinking, I'm a 3. So, like, judging, baby, I'm an 11. And that is where I'm at on the scale. So it's very clear that I don't perceive that I am judging. And that is some of or that's not some of, that is the results of my assessment. So what I liked about this is that it does break down your personality, your thinking process, things like that. They do, however, have resources for you that you could go ahead and utilize, and they do give you a little bit more. So let's say, like, for me, as far as like parenthood, for my parenthood style, which is very true, the first header is children must be taught how to think and not what to think. And that's what I do. I'm not going to teach my kids what to think. I'm going to help you learn how to think, how to process information. That's just how I am. I don't want to create robots. I don't want to create voiceless drones. I want my children to be able to come to a conclusion and have independence. And that doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, like they're going to possess my personality type. No. But something that I want them to do is I want them to be able to think. So for my type, my parenting often requires mastering new skills and then developing cognitive flexibility. Pretty much, INTJs are always up for a challenge, and for those who have children, parenthood could be an especially meaningful challenge for you. Um, we want our children to grow up to be capable of self-reliance with clear interests and strong critical thinking skills rather than enforcing pointless rules. So I don't want to do pointless rules. Um, this is not to say that they are lenient, because I'm not. But we do expect our children to use their freedom responsibly, and they aren't the kind of parents who feel bad if they have to tell their kids no. And I don't. So chaos of emotions compared to other personalities. INTJs aren't especially comfortable with displays of affection, which actually that's not true. Like I love on my babies like a lot. So even if someone is their own child, which is crazy, I can't relate. That's not me. But then we have like workplace habits. So as far as we are as subordinates, um, people with the INTJ personality type are known for their independence. They are not at all shy about taking initiative, correcting errors, or making improvements, even to the most minor elements of a work project. Their worst nightmare would be micromanaging boss who monopolizes their time with pointless meetings, insists on useless rules, or appraises employee performance based on how likable they seem rather than their actual merit. Yeah, that really grinds my gears. As far as a colleague, we require constant teamwork and social interaction. The most team building techniques in group meetings are a waste of time, and chit chat, gossip, and office politics. Well, those can be nothing short of a workplace plague. Even a brainstorming session, normally a delight for those sharp personalities, can become tedious if it is just goes into circles without leading to clear action. So I don't like, yeah, I don't like gossiping for the sake of gossiping. If there's like no conclusion, no reason, or nothing for that, it really shows no benefit to me. Now, this one, because I was in leadership for a very long time. If you're a parent, you're a leader. So, you would be surprised to hear that INTJs can make great leaders, which we do, with their strategic mindset, their personality, habituality orchestrates it administrates their tasks to perfection. Additionally, they rarely throw around their authority just to prove that they are in charge. I don't. Instead, they look for ways to promote innovation and effectiveness, even if it means breaking with established hierarchies, which that is me. If like literally, rules to me are meant to be bent. Like, what was those things called? Them pipe cleaners we used to play with in school? Yeah, that's rules. They meant to be a little bit flexible in order to get the bottom line. Because I am a bottom line person at the end of the day. Whew. I am a bottom line person at the end of the day. So it all boils down to how are we going to complete this task? And that's literally all I care about. As long as we're like not cheating, stealing, not killing nobody, nobody ain't hurt. Um, you know, I'm a get it done. And then as far as let's talk about some of the strengths and weaknesses. So the is that we're rational, okay? We're informed, we're independent, we're determined, we're curious, and we're original. But let's dive into these weaknesses and expound upon them a little bit. We can be perceived as arrogant, and INTJs might be knowledgeable, but they are not infallible. Their self-assurance can blind them to useful input from others, especially anyone they deem to be intellectually inferior. These personalities can come across as needless, harsh, or single-minded in trying to prove others wrong. So that would be an area of improvement for myself, which, how do I say this? I've been an educator for a number of years, so I know that everybody has multiple intelligence. So if I find someone intellectually inferior, it typically means I find you intellectually inferior for the subject at hand versus I overarching find you intellectually inferior, if that makes sense. So because everyone has multiple intelligence when it comes to different areas, so like I'm intellectually inferior in how to build an engine for a car, but someone who likes to build engines for a car, I'm gonna shut up and listen. That's me. Dismissive of emotions. So for this type, rationality is king, but emotional context often matters more than people with this personality type care to admit. INTJs can be impatient with anyone who seems to value feelings more than fact. Unfortunately, ignoring emotions is its own type of bias, one that can cloud their personalities type's judgment. I don't subscribe to that one, but this next one I do. Actually, these next two I do. So I'm overly critical And these personalities tend to have a great deal of self-control, practicality when it comes to thoughts and feelings. When the people in their lives fail to match their level of restraint, INTJs can prefer scratchingly critical. This criticism can be unfair based on arbitrary standards rather than a full understanding of human nature. So I do find myself in moments of being overly critical. I know that about myself. See self-awareness. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. If you know that you can be overly critical and in your head you're thinking, because I'm an INTJ, I'm like, damn. I'm thinking to myself and I'm saying everything I want to say while I'm listening to you, but I have to filter my words out. So I have this process of like filtration. It's almost like, I don't know, like a decoder ring in my brain. And my mouth is saying what my brain is decoding versus what the first thing that popped in my head to say. So if someone is like, oh, complaining about something that I'm like, bro, like, what? In my mind, I'm like, blah, 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 blah. Like, this is dumb. Like, why are they talking to me like this? Like, will they just go somewhere? In my head, I'm thinking as they're speaking, but I'm like consciously aware that I can be overcritical. So I'm making sure that my face is just like smiling. Like, that's my immediate thing. Like, yes, hey, what? How can I help you? Okay, okay. You know what? Thank you for bringing that up. I am going to try to figure out if I can get some more insight from Mike. That's actually his area of expertise, but I'll definitely let you know. Well, really, I want to be like, fool, 1 plus 1 is 2. Why are you in my face? That would be me being overly critical, and every situation doesn't garner that. So I work really, really, really hard on that. This is why assessments are important. Not all of these things that I've listed, um, I see those in myself because I have self awareness. Like someone else may see that. Arrogance. I do have a little bit of arrogance, dismissive of emotions. I can be overly critical. Okay, and then the next one is going to be combative. So these personalities type hate blindly, following anything without understanding why. That is not combative. I mean, I guess that would be the definition of combative, but um, for me, I am a person that I don't seek. I don't seek the drama. Like that's not for me. But what I will do is slay a dragon. So if you want to come up here, you go F around and find out what the square root of my foot is. So that's my level of combativeness. And then this last one is socially clueless. So this means that their relentless rationality can lead to frustration in their social lives. Their effort to defy expectations could leave them feeling isolated or disconnected from other people at times. These personalities may become cynical about the value of relationships altogether, questioning the importance of love and connection. This one actually kind of true. Literally had this thought 2 hours ago. Like, Jesus. I'm like, I think the man pond got pee in it. Pee, boo boo, and acid. Because the math is not mathing. Not at all. No, absolutely not. Okay. It's giving someone threw up in there. But this is just a little bit of insight into your personality, and you will know when some of these things resonate with you, but you could have a blindness to yourself. So some of these things you're not going to be like, "Oh, no, like that's not me," like da da da. But it would help to, have another person in your life and share those results with them, and they could be like, "Well, yeah, you do have a tendency to do this, or you do have a tendency to do that." And it just is what it is. Because I know what my weaknesses are, I can take time to develop at least one habit towards improving that. So I try my hardest not to be single-minded, not to dismiss anyone's emotions. If anything, I'm one of those people where I navigate life like the way that I parent, the way that I lead, the way that I teach. I navigate life through this way of knowing that I too once were you. So if I know I once was you, how did I feel? What was my experience? I have a level of understanding. So, yes, I'm sitting here at the big age of 35, going to be 36 this year, but I know what it's like to be 14. I, have a good memory of what it's like to be like 7 or 8. I definitely remember what it's like to be 18. I remember what it's like to be 20. I remember what it's like to be 30 and all the things that surround that developmental time. And that's why I have a great sense of awareness when it comes to being in spaces and places. I can code switch depending on the demographic. I'm going to find some commonality with whomever I meet. And that's why I'm slightly introverted. I think it was like a 2 or 3. I'm slightly more introverted than I am extroverted because I still have that gift of the awareness. I'm going to find some commonality with anyone. I might not look like you, have the life experience like you, but if I see that you're being bullied, like I know what it's like to be bullied. So I can understand what that would feel like for you. I have now developed a type of tough skin to it because I have an understanding that those that go out of their way to directly reject other people don't have the love of God in them. But when that's my language now at 35. But before, I didn't think about it like that. I thought about it like those people don't love themselves. Because when I'm loving myself, I don't have the time to do that. But when I'm immersed in an aspect of not loving myself, then I have time for the foolishness. And it's also you are what you eat. I was actually thinking about this because I have two different IGs, and the IG that I'm on the most, that's like my main one. Like I'm never really on the secondary one. It's almost like a little photo album of, my life and times, but I don't follow a lot of the same pages that page follows. Um, no tea, no shade. Like I can't be following Shade Room. I don't watch Love and Hip Hop. None of the things. I will partake in some Real Housewives. I don't watch Real Housewives of Atlanta anymore. I haven't watched Real Housewives in Atlanta since Kim Zolciak was on there, child. So that was a long time. But I do love me some Real Housewives of Potomac. But even that, in moderation, because I am what I eat. And my personality type is telling you that. Like I have a zest for information, for knowledge and things like that. So for me, those type of outlets, those type of things are like junk food. It's like cakes and cookies. So in order to have a well-balanced diet, like sometimes you're gonna have a little cake and cookies. It's all right. As long as you're not eating cake and cookies every day. So with that being said, you need to have an awareness of yourself because it's only going to help you get better. Um, because this is so funny. I think that, um, because I am single, I think that this is a really good, like, one to end off. Because a lot of people are single also. And like I said, God, there must be vomit, pee, acid rain, doo doo, um, I don't know. sauerkraut, because it's something in that water, because these fish is rancid. So with that being said, you kind of need to know how you show up to different types of relationships. So we talked about the parenthood, we talked about the friendship, strengths and weaknesses, how we are in our workplace. So now I want to end it off with romantic relationships. So, we have the romantic relationships, and it says, of all forms of caution, caution in love is perhaps the most fatal to true happiness. So people with the INTJ personality type, the architects, approach romance the way they do most challenges, and that's strategically, with a clear goal and a plan for achieving it. In a purely rational world, their approach would be foolproof, but matters of love are rarely rational. Consequently, they are at risk of overlooking or misinterpreting the unpredictability of human nature and affection, which, fortunately enough for me, I think I more misinterpret than unpredictable. Um, Everything is predictable. Because I'm Angela Lansbury, baby. I'm Jessica Fletcher. We is taking in all the data. So there is areas for us to get that information. So for these personality types, finding a compatible partner can be a particular challenge. Being innately logical, they seek not just companionship, but also intellectual stimulation from their partner, and this is true. And before I knew this language for it, I would always say that, like, I would prefer to be with someone who knows something that I don't know. And I hope to know something that they don't know, that together we can build an empire. That has always been like my approach to that, like a true team, building an empire, doing what we have to do to have our legacy and our stamp on this world. Like, if I say McDonald's, you immediately think of old McDonald had a farm. No, I'm just kidding. You automatically think of, the Golden Arches. When I say, Walmart, if you know them, you think of the Waltons. There's certain families that are timeless. Chase, JP Morgan Chase. There's certain families that are timeless, and that's something that I desire for myself, is having a true legacy. Um, Rockefeller, baby, a true legacy, and it's something that is achievable, and it's something that we can do, and is something that I look for. So moreover, they are rarely satisfied. They cannot help but imagine how a world would be better than it already is, and they often bring the same mindset to the realm of love. Unfortunately, if they apply a relentlessly critical eye to every potential partner, people with the INTJ personality types might find themselves constantly dissatisfied. The woes of dating. So, we value depth, intelligence, uh, unmitigated honesty, which half y'all science projects don't have. And I said it. And I'll say it with my chest. But for them, a relationship that isn't founded on these values simply is not worth pursuing. They would much rather stay single than focus on false connections just for the sake of being with someone. Yeah, I yeah, I have, and it could very much be from childhood experiences, but yeah, baby, I am not about to have no man just to say that I got a man. And I have to balance that with my overcritical nature and not being overly critical, because I wish I've had this conversation with myself. And I was like, girl, you can't be overly critical because everyone has their downfalls. Like, you have your downfalls, like you, and you know what yours are. And you can't be so overly critical of the other people. But there are certain standards that I'm not willing to waver on. Like, for instance, I had someone try to, and I say it this way, it's almost like I am a toddler and you're still trying to give me Enfamil only, and I need solace food. You're not about to give me the bare minimum, baby. You're not about to bare minimum baby me, especially when I don't bare minimum myself. So it's a immediate red flags, immediate red flags, immediate ejection from the game. But anyways, um, their honesty and refusal to play games can be a breath of fresh air when it comes to dating. Bad news. Many romantic conversations exist for a reason, often because they make people feel comfortable and special or intrigued. And when people with this personality type refuse to play along, they find dating difficult, if not impossible. Because baby, I'm not about to do that. Get the hell out of here. As they mature and gain experiences, many people with this personality type eventually come to understanding the purpose of a romantic ritual. Until that point, however, they decide that dating is too irrational or beneath them. Some claim to be above the silliness of dating in an effort to demonstrate their intellectual superiority. Obviously, this mindset is unlikely to help these personalities find and connect with a partner. So, emotional sickness. This type is known for a conventional show of romance, such as sending flowers or writing mushy notes. Most isn't known, which is crazy because I'm like that. I love stuff like that. I give what I want to receive. Most people with this type spend much more time talking about love than expressing it, but they believe that the relationship has potential. INTJs are more than capable of giving it their all, even if it takes them out of their comfort zone. Love is really easy, but it's a challenge that can help people with INTJ personalities type grow. Through the relationships, they can learn to focus on the present, get in touch with their emotions, remain involved with other people, and stay open to things that they're not used to. For a personality type so intent on self-development, these opportunities can make love even more satisfying. So, this has been Myers-Briggs. You can definitely just Google Myers-Briggs test and go ahead and take that. These assessments that I have, that I'll be discussing, there are fees associated with these assessments. They are not free 99. There are costs associated with them. But I want to bring a conclusion to you all. Me giving these results, these are things that I know about myself. And it's not like, oh, girl, you read your results, so you know. No, baby. I know this about myself, and I can give you provable instances in my life on how I act with this and how I act with that and how it shows up in this way. It's extremely important for us to take a time of insight for ourselves. You never can get to another destination if you don't have your starting point. Like literally GPS will not do that for you because they're like, how am I going to give you directions if you're not telling me where you're starting from? And because I know where I'm starting from, I'm starting here at this place, right? I know everything that I have. But I also know the things that I need to kind of develop along the way. And that is where you got to check yourself, baby. You got to check yourself before you wreck yourself. You got to find these things out about yourself in order for you to live this life in a more loving, beneficial, wonderful way. Like I say in every podcast, you have survived 100% of everything that was sent to break you, and you got through it. And checking ourselves before we reckon ourselves is an opportunity for us to take an assessment or a self-awareness of where we're at now so we can go through to our next journey. Until next time, this has been an episode of From Her View Podcast. Bye.